What's up? Hey, ho, ho, hold on to your hats.
You just wanted to say ho, I know.
Let's kick it off, Mark. This is the holiday special
Yes, it is.
for the episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
All right.
Coming at you with all kinds of Christmas balls and jingle bells and
Holiday cheer.
holiday cheers.
I've never been a big fan of Christmas, I got to admit. It's always very stressful for me.
It is. The holiday season is a very stressful time for an entrepreneur
It is.
because I got good reasons why.
Okay.
Because people quit buying.
Yeah.
Everybody's on vacation.
Yeah.
It's hard for sales.
Yeah, it is.
And your teams kind of gets in this like,
Yeah, so your business takes a hit. Meanwhile, back home, you got to be buying tons of stuff for people who don't need anything. Okay.
yeah, that's a great point.
That's the other part of it. I find that stressful.
I also find stressful when I have to, like, I can't work.
Yeah, I know.
Like I have to sit there and
it's like this whole week's blown off going to one party after another, visiting family members and all that.
everybody wants to sit around and talk, and I got stuff I got to do.
No kidding. I get it, man.
I will say though, like in this episode, we're talking about setting new goals and stuff. This is kind of a perfect time though.
It is. It really is.
Because I am able, when everybody else is chilling,
Yeah.
I'm able to go to a corner somewhere and just get into my box of like strategic thinking,
Yes.
really goal setting,
Yes.
and then I actually had one of my team members that had been with me for a long time. She told somebody else on the team who hasn't been around me for very long. She's like, now you do know
Everything's going to change.
everything's going to change. You're right. You didn't even know, but that's exactly what she said.
Yeah.
She's like, the whole business changes at the first of the year because I've had some time to think about some stuff.
Right.
Without being distracted.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the time of the year you got to take a hard look at what happened last year, what you think's going to happen this year,
Yeah.
and how you're going to get whatever resources you have allocated properly to achieve some new goals, right?
Yeah. Because I think one thing that is nice about the season a little bit, we talked about some negatives, but when January 1 turns around,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the industry's got like a refresh to them.
Oh, I know. The new budgets, everything like uncorks, okay?
Yeah.
It's usually like Katie bar the door after the first of the year.
That's it. Yep. And you better be on your game
You better be.
when that time happens. So I mean, like you got to come out of the bullpen swinging,
Yeah.
riding that donkey.
Yeah. Well, this is the time to do your business planning. I mean,
right.
It used to drive me crazy when people are doing their business plan for the new year and they're doing it on February 12th or something. I mean,
You're late to the game, bro.
Yeah, the year has already started.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to start right now. And, I've always been pretty critical of a lot of companies as far as their business plans and how unsubstantive they really are. I know that's something that we were going to talk about today is how to set some actual goals
Yeah.
that make sense
Mm-hmm.
in your planning process for the new year.
Yeah. So
What got anything profound to offer there?
Man, I mean, like we've had a guest in before where we talk about what we call strategic deployment, right? To where there is a lot of thinking that's being done in November, December. And, it's really just kind of, I mean, like for all practical purposes, like you can do this in an Excel spreadsheet, right? You make yourself a spreadsheet or whatever, and you're actually lining out top level goals for the company,
Yeah.
for the front half of the next year. Because I really think that you got to look at things at like a half a year basis.
I don't disagree with you. That's the best way to do it. Because
Yeah.
you can't just act like if things aren't going well in the first 6 months, we're just going to keep staying the course, right?
No, you can't. And then you got to have some long view, but then you break it down, to where it comes all the way back to that half, and then you're making sure your targets are hitting. So I mean, I think there's some things to really consider, like kind of refresh where are you at from this end of this year, along with your goals, and then How do you set and realign goals at the next half? Because some things, some of the targets might be off, and you do have to pressure a little bit on the team on certain things. And there are certain things that you sandbagged this year that you're going to have to push a little bit harder on, set some loftier goals,
Yes.
so the team can get
Right.
aligned on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing, though, that you already sort of touched on is they're going to be quantifiable and measurable.
Absolutely.
It's not these goals like we're going to be the best chicken place in Northwest Arkansas.
Mhm.
Who determines that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You sit down at the end of the year and one of the top people says, I think we really did it. We got named the best chicken place in NWA by the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal. And then somebody else says, well, I think we didn't do it. We got 3,812 complaints this year from
Right.
customers. And that was up over the 3,014 complaints we got last year. So actually, I think we deteriorated.
Mhm.
It's like, how do you know whether you're the best chicken place or
That's
not?
right. That's right.
I mean, it's got to be something that you can look at and go, yay or nay on.
That's right.
I think that's where a lot of companies fall down right there.
Yeah, setting goals is not like values and mission and visions,
Yeah.
or purpose statements. They're objective. They have to be objective and
Yes.
measurable, right? And you
Yes.
got to make them realistic, but you also have to make them push. You can't have everybody feeling good about things.
That's always been a problem for me, that whole idea that they need to be realistic,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I'm going to be inclined to push for stuff that's not realistic
Yeah, it's hard for me too.
or not realistic as other people might perceive it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a hard balance to find. I think
It is.
that's though why you do look at these things every 6 months, right? Because
Yes.
you can really, if you're not looking at that on a regular basis, and actually our company, we look at them every week, right? We
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
report on them every week, but we have 6-month goals,
Sure.
and we're watching what's going on, and so you can actually tell by like month 2, 3 if something's like really unrealistic.
Yes.
And I think it's also really important that you're sharing these plans and these goals with the team, and you're having them,
Amen.
you can't do a top-down strategy, right, or goal setting. You have to, you can start them out, but then you meet with each team member and you have them agree well before you publish them out the first of the year.
That's not always easy to do because they're going to tend to set their goals lower.
Oh yeah.
It's human nature.
Yep. Yep.
Then they can accomplish them.
Mhm.
I mean, that's another problem I have is a lot of people, it's really hard to get across sometimes to the team
Mm.
that if we can accomplish something far greater than what we are right now, you will be doing much better than
Absolutely.
you are right now.
Absolutely.
Instead of let's set really modest goals and then everybody can have modest, if any,
Mhm.
improvement in how well they're doing as an individual from this company.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
they gotta be able to see that their teamwork makes the dream work.
yeah, exactly. And then
know.
if they do perform and the place performs, that they're going to get
Mhm.
something out of it, and that's always the challenge for me.
What I've found over time is the most important goal for everybody to visualize that, like how they can make impact, is in the sales side, like your
Mhm.
revenue.
Amen to that.
Communicating to everybody in the company that it's not one person's job to create sales and drive revenue. It's
Yeah.
everyone's.
Yes.
And if you can align bonuses, you can align financial rewards, those types of things to the top line revenue numbers.
Yeah.
Like you're already on a good track
Exactly.
because I mean, a divisive thing it's just to have a department or a person within the organization that's responsible and looking at the revenue.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, like you'll never get everybody on board to make sure that we're driving better sales. Because I mean, even if you're, in customer service or something like that, you have to understand how your particular objective and your goal that you have is lining up to having higher revenue. Because if you don't have higher revenue, you cannot give bonuses, you cannot give raises, you cannot hire more people.
You can't increase the value of the business. I used to do, a lot of people have internal ownership in their companies where they sell stock to key people.
Mm-hmm.
And, especially out of the industry I come out of, which is architecture and engineering, it's very typical there. I valued my stock internally the first time we had Zweig Group, the company that Zweig Group that was Zweig White at that time,
Mm-hmm.
based on revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Therefore, all owners were trying to push to increase the overall company revenue.
Yeah.
I figured it's our job as managers to make sure we're going to make a profit.
Right.
Not everybody's in control of whether we make a profit or not,
True.
because the big part of that is the costs, right?
Right.
But yeah, pushing revenue. Now, a lot of companies don't do that.
Yeah.
So that way, if the company grew,
Mm-hmm.
then your value grew, because in reality, that's what the external value was largely driven by, was the revenue growth rate,
Absolutely.
counter to what all these bean counters want to tell us about 4 times EBIT, 6 times EBIT, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want high revenue growth rate.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. That's the number one thing everybody needs to participate in.
It's almost like if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening right now and you're like, you haven't really ever set goals for the company, or you're starting a new business. If there's anywhere to start, do some revenue targeted goals.
It all drives from that, man.
It does. And then you can cascade it later on.
Right.
But if you come out, and when we're talking about that, so speaking of revenue, right? Like you can't, to your point earlier, like let's say, hey, we want to do $100,000 in revenue for the first half of next year.
Mm.
Okay, great. You can't just have one goal. You need to start doing a waterfall of, okay, how do you get to that $100,000?
Right.
And then you can start calculating like how many calls, how many emails you're doing.
Oh, then you're really getting sophisticated, man. That's
That's
real sales management there.
Yeah. And then how many meetings do you have?
Yes.
How many products are you releasing?
Right.
So that your team can go out and sell new things, and how can you innovate new stuff? But it can all align to that top line revenue, and you just got to waterfall that. So you might have one goal that's a top line revenue you're tracking for the next year, but then you have really 8 different objectives that are trying to reach to that revenue target. And if you just start there,
Yeah.
you're going to be doing a lot better than most of the small business entrepreneurs that are out there.
Oh, yeah. Most small businesses have no plan and no goals whatsoever.
Yeah,
And it's got to go down to the individuals too, by the way.
absolutely.
I mean, this is something that drives me crazy is when individuals who are in charge of a revenue generating unit
Mm-hmm.
have no goals.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are a lot of companies that operate like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's the goal for the service department? What's the goal for the people who sell the widgets,
Yeah.
widget A's?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has got to be quantified, and a lot of people don't have it. And
That's
so
right.
therefore they just do the best they can,
Yep.
and the market's good, so we'll do good. The market's not good. I had somebody say that to me the other day, and I thought it was great. He's a small business owner, and he's got an outdoor store.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, the overall outdoor market is down, but he goes, what difference does that make to us?
Right.
We have like 0.0000001 of the total percent of the total outdoor market.
Right.
We can grow and other people don't, can decline. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great attitude to have as an owner too. It's like, well, everybody wants to know what's happening in the market, but that's not going to dictate
Mm-hmm.
unless you're in a business where you have like 70% of the market.
Yeah.
Then it's hard to ignore.
Sure. No, that's exactly right.
But when you got these little tiny micro percentages, you can't get too hung up about that. You got to figure out a way to do well anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that, another thing too, like when we're talking about this, like the entrepreneur should not deceive themselves in the amount of time and energy and work it takes to set these goals out.
Yeah.
And to work with your team. And so like when this episode releases, we're going to be coming into the close to the end of the year. But even if you're listening to this and it's January 1 of 25, you still need to exercise the time. Like you have to, like even if you release your goals by February, which is honestly a little bit too late, like next year you can improve and start this in October.
Right. But it's better than not doing it.
Better than not doing it.
I get it.
And you need to understand, like I'm sitting here thinking as we're talking, like I'm like, thinking about myself. I'm like, oh shit, man, I got a lot of meetings that I got to have in the next few weeks, but it's just the reality to it. We have got to sit down and spend my time. And I'm talking like, if I'm thinking about this right now, I've got about probably 10 hours of work by myself to do,
Yep.
looking at my past goals and
Right.
thinking about the future and where I'm
Yep.
trying to get to. Then I got about another 10 hours worth of time that I'm spending with the team,
Yes.
individuals
Yes.
in the across the entire organization. Of course, we only have like less than 10 people, but
Right.
that's easy to accommodate. And if you have more than that, you need to be spending with your top leaders, right? Whoever
Right.
your executives and top senior leaders are.
Yep.
But I got to spend an hour with each one of them.
Yep.
Then I need to come back and I got about another 5 hours of taking all that feedback,
Synthesizing that.
synthesizing that. That's
Yeah.
a good word.
It
It
is.
is. That matches my freaking mustache right now.
I
Synthesize.
feel like I'm sitting across the table from Errol Flynn in
You are.
1935 or
You
something.
are.
You should have like a 1934 Duesenberg sitting outside.
I should.
You know?
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, you would fit it perfect.
So I got 5 hours to synthesize all
Yeah.
the feedback from the team that I had. Then I have another 5 hours to go back and make final reviews to get final check off, sign off alignment with my team.
It's a lot of time. I
And
know.
then I probably have another 4 hours worth of all that feedback, making sure that there's not any freaking typos in my goals, that there's absolute clarity, there's no mistakes in the numbers, because that's always screws us up. And then is everything clear? And I've reviewed it, and then it's published out to the
Yes.
team with a nice email, and everybody's aligned that the goals are in a location that everybody can access at any time.
Right. And see how well we're doing.
See how we're doing, and then make sure everybody understands that they have a responsibility to their own goals and to certain, company objectives that we've lined out.
Yeah.
And that's what we just calculate, about 20 hours worth of work, like serious work that I have to do.
Hey, management, as my friend Matt Lewis likes to say,
Mhm.
contains the word manage
Yes, it does.
in it. It does. Means you actually have to manage
You do.
as much as entrepreneurs don't necessarily like doing it.
Mm-hmm. But what's beautiful about that is that if you spend that 20 hours, like, it's going to save you hundreds of hours
Sure.
in the next half, because now when the team starts meeting the first of the year, everybody knows what they're doing. They can go have their holidays.
Right.
When they come back on January, like,
Dude.
we all know exactly what we're going, what we're doing. And
Yes.
there's and I can, and what I love about it too is in the middle of the half, like, all you have to do is reference back to the goals that you already set.
Sure.
They can answer their own questions.
Well, it takes you, I think that's a really good point, because it takes you out of the day-to-day to a certain extent.
It does.
Because the path is laid out. It's not like, do we want to do this or not?
Yeah.
That should be really clear based on the plan and what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like everything has to go back to you as the business owner
That's
every
right.
day.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to avoid. You're trying to scale this thing.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got to get everybody aligned. I mean, the biggest problem when you come right down to this whole goals thing, though, and setting high goals, is the individuals involved cap off their efforts. All right. And not always.
Yeah.
But I'm saying a lot of people do. It's like, that's okay, as long as I leave at 5 o'clock every day. I'll do what I can do until 5. And then that's it. It's out of my hands then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what we all need is people who will go above and
right.
beyond, pushing harder.
Yep.
And that as owners of businesses, we have to recognize that those people are doing that
Mm-hmm.
and reward them accordingly, instead of casting the same net over everybody and say, well, I can't pay whatever you are more than
Mm-hmm.
$62,000 a year, no matter how good you are at it.
That's right.
That's where people fall, I think, down.
Yeah.
It's the people who are really exceptional and are breaking their butts to make it happen. We've got to really recognize that.
Yep.
And if other people don't like it, then there's your role model.
Yeah.
Do what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those people are carrying the company forward. And they're leading the company. That's where you get your real leaders from.
It's the 20% that create 80%
That's
of
right.
the results,
That's right.
or 15% create 85% of the results.
If you can have a company where more than 20% of the people, your goal is kind of
Exactly.
more than 20% of your
Yes.
company that's driving that company forward. That's a beautiful culture, man.
Oh, it is. That's the culture you want.
That's it. That's it. And it's hard to get there if you don't have these goals laid out, if you don't have metrics for these folks where
Yep.
you can they can self-analyze, that they can get behind the company, that they can work together with the team to drive this thing, these goals and objectives, meet those, exceed them, and be rewarded, and everybody gets rewarded for it.
So much of that comes down to their perception of how selfish you as the owner of the business is, I think.
Yeah,
I really do. If they think you're not selfish, if they think you don't elevate yourself above them, if they believe that you'll get down in the trenches and do whatever the dirty work is too,
yeah,
then you get a completely different response out of people
that's right.
than if you're like trying to be the absentee owner and you're the guy with the special parking place or whatever. You
That's
know what
right.
I mean?
No, totally.
That creates the us versus them culture,
That's right.
you know?
And if they can't, I think that on this goal setting stuff, one of my favorite quotes is by the time you're tired of saying something, people are starting to listen.
Yeah.
And so
That's a good one.
and you as the entrepreneur, you cannot be the sole owner of the vision of the company.
No, you can't.
You have got to get the vision instilled into everybody so they can see the future, they see the opportunity,
Yes.
get excited about that.
Yes.
And that is a lot more difficult than I think we give it credit for. It took me, I remember there was a period of years actually where I was just living in this frustrating circumstance because I was like, man, nobody can understand what I'm talking about. I'm sitting here carrying a lot of weight for the future.
Yes,
And
of course.
driving every day, just driving, and I'm frustrated because people just aren't excited and can see it like I can as an entrepreneur. But when I realized that quote,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, that helped me relax. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not living alone in this atmosphere of where nobody can understand what I'm talking about. But then I started realizing, like, being able to express that, and then if you can tie that vision into these goals and these objective targets, like your vision is coming into the targets, and then you're spending the time with them, you're coaching them with that. They are aligning with your goals. They're bringing up their own goals to align with the bigger vision. I mean, then you start to have some magic happening.
Well, the thing that see, it seems to me like somebody like you would have a big advantage over a lot of other people. First off, you're a good communicator and people like you. That helps.
That does.
All right.
Yeah.
It really does. But secondly, you've demonstrated
Mm.
that you can do this and deliver on
Yeah.
the big rewards for your people.
That's true.
Okay. That ought to give you a lot of credibility in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I've done this before. I
Yeah.
know what can happen.
That's true.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, you got an advantage. I'm not saying you got that easily.
Right.
You got that by performing
That's right.
and
That's
making
right.
it happen, but you should have more credibility. Not everybody has that credibility. They've got to rely on their charisma and their communication skills
Mm.
and their relationships with the individuals.
That's right. And I think that,
You know?
if I could rewind,
Mhm.
back in the first company, I spent so much time not putting it down,
Mhm.
not spending the time. Like so I remember early on, like when I would spend the holiday season, when I would go in my little hole and I would come back and at the first of the year, the company's changed and we have this new direction. But because I did not spend the time on with the individual to articulate the vision
Mhm.
and to lay this out on paper in a very easily understood way, got the alignment from the individuals in the team. Without that, I was left to I just basically postponed the frustration that I'd have in the first of the year because I was only verbalizing.
I
And then I'm
you're right.
cheerleading every day, and that's
Yeah.
exhausting for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Because it's frustrating, exhausting. But if you
Yep.
that I think that's the thing about this whole goal setting thing. If you can get it on paper, you get the buy-in, and you articulated that at the end of the year, then you have a clarity from everybody when they step back in on the new year. And there's not this, oh crap. I mean, because let's face it, really there's only a few select people on the planet that actually embrace and accelerate change.
Yes.
Like they like change to them, like they know it's a necessary thing. You got to evolve and adapt and change and pivot, all that type of stuff. And the entrepreneur gets that, but that's part of their personality. They actually are the change makers. They are the trailblazers.
Yeah.
But an entrepreneur needs to understand that no one else really on the entire planet wants that. Like they really
I
want.
know, they're fighting you.
They are. They do. they put their hands out, they stiff arm it.
I think that's a really good transition, though, to something that we did want to talk about quickly
Okay.
in the time we got left over, and that is the future. What's going to happen in the future?
Mm-hmm.
And the business world likes consistency.
Yeah.
The business world likes certainty, as they like to say.
Predictability.
Yeah, which we're not going to have ever.
No.
Okay. We're certainly not going to have it now that we're having a change in the administration.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so I think you make a really good point. I mean, what's the answer? Be prepared for uncertainty.
That's it.
Welcome it. Figure out how you can capitalize on the change.
That's right.
Okay. Don't fight it.
No.
Embrace it and figure out how you're going to work with it
Yeah.
instead of lamenting it.
That's it.
Okay. It's because it's just not positive.
No.
You can't do anything about the macro environment.
No.
Okay.
No.
I think true entrepreneurs understand that.
Yeah. They
focus on what they can control.
That's right. They intuitive, and here's the thing: it's an intuitive thing.
Yeah.
Like if you know, but I think the entrepreneur, what I would have been blinded myself by is I didn't realize that not everyone that I'm around is intuitively understanding.
Oh, they go. Yeah.
And so it took me a long time. So that intuition, I think the point is if you can get that intuition, you spend the time with yourself and with others, and you get that down into some objectives and goals.
Yeah.
What you're in essence doing is you're guiding your team through objective goal settings that they know where they're at and they feel comfortable. They feel like that there is guidance, security, that the change that they're doing. So a lot of times, like what I think that happens is a lot of times the teams don't even understand that they're adapting and changing, but they're following the goals that have been set and they feel secure in this change. But that when they turn around 2 or 3 years, 10 years later, and they don't even know what happened to them. But they're happy, they're satisfied, they felt secure the whole way. It's exciting to them. You know, they feel like that they have changed. They can look back and say, I did change. Yeah. My career's changed, my income's changed, my lifestyle's changed, my house has changed. Everything's gotten better. But that's because the entrepreneur had the intelligence to to understand that they're guiding.
To lay that
path.
Yeah.
Because I really don't need a freaking spreadsheet, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think you do either, right?
Yeah.
We as entrepreneurs, we don't need a guide. That's why we get so angry and I think frustrated when everybody wants a spreadsheet and a theory.
It's so true. It's like, you know, my revenue growth goal is as much as I can bring revenue. Okay. I mean, honest, how much can it sell, you know? And then we were like, well, how much working capital do you need? As much as I can get. Debt, I mean, we just got asked that question by the bank yesterday. How did you come up with how much money you want to borrow to have in credit? I said, as much as we can get. That, I mean, honestly, that's what it is. Yeah. All right? So I'm totally with you. It's as much as I thought we could reasonably ask for and actually get.
How much will you lend me?
Okay.
That's how much I need. That's how much I need.
Yeah. So it's like, how much growth do you want? I don't want just 40% or 50. No. I'd love to grow by 100%. Yeah. If I could do I'd rather grow by 120%. Okay. I want as much as I can get. So you make total sense.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, everybody is sitting around right now trying to predict the future. Thank God the election's finally over. Okay. And it's decided, and we don't have this period of uncertainty of which direction we're going to go. I mean, in that sense, it's a blessing, regardless.
Doesn't matter
how you feel about the results.
It honestly doesn't really matter which way it goes. There's certainty and everybody's fear calms down a little bit.
Right. It's just like, you know, we had people say, I'm not going to buy a motorcycle until after the election's over. And sure enough, as the election's over and we sold multiple bikes in 2 days, you know. I don't understand that.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't either. I don't really,
but
that doesn't drive my decision making.
Yeah, but that's the way people are. So now we know what it's going to be, but there's going to be plenty of uncertainty, but the uncertainty is going to create plenty of opportunities if you can spot them, because change is not always a problem.
No.
Change can be an opportunity.
It's always an opportunity.
It's how you see it.
Yeah.
It's how you respond to it.
That's right.
Okay. So anyway,
out of time for the Christmas or the holidays. Oh, so you got something?
One more thing.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Holiday gifts.
Oh,
What do we give? I sent a note out to all my kids, 5 of them, and said, don't buy me anything.
Yeah.
I had virtually save your money,
Yeah.
save your stress.
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure out what I need or want, because I don't need or want anything. I have everything I could possibly want.
And do not go buy me any clothes.
Oh my! I
Don't buy me clothes, socks.
I don't. I just socks. It's so funny. I thought about that specifically. I bet I've got 200 pairs of socks in my sock drawers. Okay,
That you don't even buy.
multiple sock drawers. Yeah, I just go to my Walmart white socks every day. That's what I wear.
Hell yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but yet we feel the pressure to buy stuff for people. I think as far as corporate gifts go, you know, what do you have any great ideas for things you could do?
I really don't. Right. I mean, you put me on the spot. I can't really
Swag
think.
with your name on
Swag
it.
would be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good swag.
Yeah. Yeah. Good swag. I mean, we did used to give like holiday gift baskets to key clients. And I think that always works.
Yeah,
You know, something tangible that their team can enjoy.
right.
You know, you can't just send one thing to your one contact. Like you know, there's an opportunity there to really kind of bless the whole team so they know about you.
Yeah,
It's always a good one.
yeah.
That's always a good one.
It's hard. I don't have any great insight on holiday gifts either. But
Yeah.
if I give anything away, it's probably going to have my company name on it. That's all I know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right.
All right, man.
Hey, it's been fun talking with you.
Yeah. Happy holidays to everybody that's listening.
Yeah, same to you.
Get your
man.
planning on. Get your goal setting. It's a good time to do it.
It sure is. Now is the time to do it.
Now's the
You're
time.
going to have a little downtime. Things are going to slow down at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So-
Nobody's gonna answer the phone. Nobody's gonna strike a deal with you.
Yeah,
That's a good time to sit down and get some things planned out.
no kidding.
Yep.
I'm going to do it. I'm heading to Indiana here coming up in a couple weeks to work on our business plan, Janice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to devote a couple days to the process.
Love it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. This has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.